Eric Batista on 100 FM The Pike. Text in a question at 508-799-PIKE. 508-799-7453.
Yeah, we try to do this once a month. The city manager is here in the studio, Eric Batista. Thank you, Mr. City Manager, for joining us once again.
Thank you, Mike, for having me.
I appreciate it. We got a bunch of questions again.
Yes.
About some issues here in the city, and that's why we do this. So, you get a chance to get an answer directly from the city manager here. So, I guess the hot button issue right now is the civilian review board that was proposed for the Worcester Police Department.
Yes.
The last city council meeting, a lot of people showed up about that. There's been a lot of people that were against your decision to not have that. So first, let me ask, why not have a civilian review board here in the city?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Mike. And I know that this has been a topic that's been discussed not only recently, but also for many, many years. And just in my 14 years of working in City Hall, I've heard this conversation from community partners and at many different levels. What I have been able to do over the past 3 to 4 years in my role as a city manager, most specifically in the last 2.5 years with the current chief diversity and the equity officer and the new chief of police, we've been able to build a system that allows for us to provide a different layer of investigation, a different layer of accountability, not only to the police department, but across the entire municipal government. And this is adding investigators, third-party investigators that are involved, that are licensed, attorneys, former MCAT attorneys that are working in the DEI office, providing that service. And so we feel as though what we've been able to build over the number of years provides the accountability that I think the department needs and is utilizing currently right now. One of the things that most people didn't understand or didn't know is that currently right now, as part of the last 2.5 years, we've been able to institute investigations for any use of force or discourtesy cases that the department that are related to discrimination, civil rights, bias, etc. That the police department, yes, they have to conduct their internal affairs, and BOPS has to conduct their internal review, but now there's a separate body doing that, and that's the DEI office that's reviewing that with qualified investigators doing that work, separate from the police department. And I think that kind of work provides a more insight into and provide a better overview of investigation. There are communities that have civilian review boards, but yet the investigation is happening by the police, and the review board just reviews whatever investigation comes from there.
Yeah.
We're doing an approach that's more upstream, that the DI office is doing the investigations outside of the police, which provides a better process or provides a different perspective in the way we take the approach and have a better lens in the way we do the investigations. So I felt comfortable in what we've been able to build in the last 2.5 years with the equity officer and the chief, with the relationship that I've been able to establish. We're now doing DI trainings for all the recruits. We have a number of programs and initiatives in the department. So I felt strongly that we've been able to build a number of things over a number of years to strengthen the accountability, not only for the police, but also across the entire city.
A listener just had a really simple question. Hannah LaSalle on our Facebook page. What would make you change your mind about that? What would make you change your mind to have a civilian review board?
Yeah, and I've thought about that question, right? I've had conversations with community partners who've asked me, is there an opportunity that we can do something different, et cetera. And at the end of the day, the differences that I've been able to identify in my conversations is that most people want this public body to have civilians to be able to review cases and make recommendations, right? That's the authority that this review board would have. And they've primarily focused just on that, not on the components that I just talked about, the investigations, separating the investigations out of PD, having kind of a third party or outside of the department reviewing these things. And that's where I feel what we've been able to build is strong enough. So looking at kind of what folks want and folks have requested, I honestly think that what we've been able to create as a city is pretty solid. Now, is there ways that over time we can analyze and assess and see if we can continue to improve? Absolutely. I mean, everything that we do as a government has to improve over time and should be strengthened. But I think what we've been able to build has a good process, has an outside of the department process. It's building a relationship with the departments. One of my concerns too is you institute a civilian review board, and that's going to create a wall right away with the department. The department is going to, and look what's happening in Boston. They're having their own challenges with the civilian review board because the department is not reacting to that public body. What we have now, we have a relationship that's happening between the equity officer, the chief of police, and myself that we're able to deal with these issues together and be able to then move forward on that. And I feel like so sometimes there are policies that are important or that policy that community really wants. But sometimes when you implement that policy, it creates more of a challenge. It creates more of a friction or a tension between the parties than it does building the relationship that you wanted to build.
But see, my personal concern about this is a trust factor. You know, I respect law enforcement and I want to trust law enforcement, but this gives the impression to some that there's something to hide there. Now, you say you have departments already in the city that are taking care of this, but are they all related to the city? Or, you know, I'm looking for something. You say the third parties, and I get that. They're not involved with the police department, but something that's not even involved with the city to look in on this.
So the thing is that there's no civilian review board across the entire nation that's outside of the city. So that's the first and foremost.
Okay.
Right? And a majority of civilian review boards across the entire nation, the individuals who are investigating or the individuals who oversee the civilian review board, they're all employees of the city. So they has to have an HR team. There has to be benefits. There have to be some management principles, somebody that oversees the day-to-day, their payroll and stuff like that. And that is the municipality. And that is across the board, every civilian review board. You talk about Boston, you talk about Cambridge, you talk about Somerville, the investigators, the staff that staffs the board, et cetera. All of that are civilian employees by the city, by that municipality. So there is very unlikelihood that you're going to have this completely autonomous body outside of municipal government. We actually do have one, and that's the state, that's Post. But I know that, and I know that I'm not saying that Post is the de facto, right? What I'm saying is that is a separate, completely body that oversees and actually has authority to decertify. Most civilian review boards, if not all civilian review boards, don't have authority to decertify officers. They have authorities to recommend discipline, but they don't have authorities to decertify. That is a state process. Post has that option. And so when you talk about trust, right, and I totally get it about the need for trust, but trust I don't think is just one tool, and civilian review board is one tool, right? There are communities across the entire nation, even in this state, that have civilian review boards. I don't think members of those communities, if they don't trust police, I don't think having the civilian review board makes them trust police more. You know, just because you're in Worcester, you don't trust police because there's no civilian review board. Now you drive into Boston, you trust police there more because they have a civilian review board. Like, I don't think that is. So what I think is about trust is having great leadership, integrity in leadership, consistency in the work that you do, right? And making sure that that's transparent and making sure that you're integral into the work and consistent in that, and that whatever you do it with intention. And if you do that with intention and you show the community that, hey, this is what we're doing it with intention, we want to be transparent, we want to be engaging, over time, that culture starts to shift. But I just don't think that one tool on its own is going to be the one that builds trust. And like I said, there are so many communities across the nation that have civilian review boards, and people still don't trust the police. So it comes down to a conviction of an individual, whether they do or they don't trust police officers based on their experiences or based on what they've seen or based on conversations, et cetera.
Okay. And moving on to a related question. This also from our Facebook page. So flock camera systems are up and running here in Worcester, they're saying. And does the Worcester Police Department and City of Worcester have a contract with Flock Safety? Are taxpayers paying for this, or is Flock paying us? And what are they doing with the information that Flock cameras are collecting?
Yeah, City of Worcester has no contracts with Flock cameras. We have no contracts.
Oh, there's no Flock cameras.
There's no Flock cameras. Now, they could be a Flock camera that a private company may have, but we as a city, we do not have a contract with Flock cameras. We have a separate system that we utilize, and we've been able to when this kind of all happened across the nation, especially here in Massachusetts with the city of Cambridge, we were then able to look into to make sure that, one, we did not have it, and two, that we strengthened our policies to make sure that we didn't provide any information, or that any of our information of our systems were being provided to any agents that could impact our community. And so that's something that we took and approached quickly. We wanted to confirm that wasn't our position, and two, that we had no contract and no affiliation with Flock. Now, like I said, it could be someone in the private sector that might.
So that's not stop something with a private business from having those for their own security.
Correct.
Okay.
But we as a city and municipality, we have no contracts with Flock.
Okay. But there are those cameras. They've been up for years. There is a camera system.
Yes, we do. We did the traffic cameras, and then we have some license plate readers. They're a different system. Our system that we use is a Genetec system, much different. But those they don't have that capability that Flock has.
Right.
And it's just basic traffic cameras that we have in the city.
Right. All right. Another hot issue now, and a lot of people are speaking out about this, especially in the trendy west end of the city where I live. Well, I actually live in the part before it becomes trendy. But there is a proposal and a plan to improve upon the intersection at Chandler Street and over by Worcester State University. And that's a very bizarre intersection.
It is.
Mill Street not Mill Street. May Street comes
May
off
Street.
of there,
Yep.
And then what's the other street that empties out there?
Chandler.
Chandler.
There's two. They're both May.
Oh, they're both
Yeah,
May? Oh,
yeah.
is that May also
Yeah,
on the other
yeah,
side?
yeah.
And then you've got a lot going on there. You've got the university, you've got the magnet school, you've got the Jesse Burkett Little League
Yes.
field over there.
Yes.
You've got the temple over there and the assisted living
We got
facility.
two elementary schools.
Oh, that's right. Is there
May Street School
and
right. Chandler.
Okay, yeah. So you got a lot going on in that little area there. But there's a lot of people against it. So what do you say to those people who are totally against it? They don't want anything to change over there.
Yeah. I think this is a project that's been ongoing for almost 10 years, if not 10 years. When it initially came forward, it was around 2016. And there was conversations on the council floor, conversations with community, conversations with the stakeholders in the area about how to improve that area, because it was pretty challenging at the time. And at the time, it wasn't even striped. So it was even worse. People were trying to figure out how to get through there.
Yeah.
And then I know that I remember there was a big water main break that happened in that area as well. And so after that, there was conversations of how do we improve this, whether it's temporarily or long-term. And so the long-term conversation started to happen. But in the meantime, they did some temporary restriping, some bump outs, some stuff to be able to address it in a temporary basis. So then we approached the long-term process. We had outside consultants. We worked with the state. Mass DOT is a partner and the funder in this. And then we get outside consultants. They do a traffic analysis. They do a redesign. There was 3 designs that were presented. And then the overall design that was selected at the end was the 2 roundabouts. And they're not rotaries, they're roundabouts. And so the roundabouts then became the design that we tried to enhance over time. Now, there's been partners, whether it's Worcester State and others, who have provided input on trying to make some modifications to the current roundabouts based on their site lines and whatnot. So we've been able to do that. But I think it's because it's been 10 years or so, and people haven't been as close or as in tune to the project. And there was a stopgap during the COVID times. either one, people forgot about it, or two, people weren't aware about it. So now people feel as though the city is coming in and forcing their way into the neighborhood.
Because there is some eminent domain issues.
There is some easements.
Easements. Okay. Right.
So there's some there to be able to extend the sidewalks, to be able to extend some of the areas where we need to add some parking, etc., and for purposes of staging as well. There are some easements that are going to be needed, temporary and permanent. And all of that has to go through a public process with the council and whatnot. The permanent ones, there will be a compensation to the property owners for those permanent easements. So there's been notices sent out to the residents on that. And so I think one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to try to have more conversations with community, kind of explain the project. I think people don't really understand what the project is in detail. People have perspectives or perceptions of what they think it is. So I think it's important that we explain it, have thorough presentations, and this is something I've wanted to do because it's been 10 years, right? And we need to go back to the community and fully explain the project, answer any questions and concerns that they may have, and then try to find a way forward so that we can, because the area does need some improvement, right? The area needs improvement. There's a lot of traffic that comes in and out of that area.
There's a lot going on there.
We hear from the Little League saying there's tons of speed here, and they could get concerned of their kids.
And that's the main concern.
Yeah, the
schools
people
blow through there super fast.
People blow through it, and I used to live down that way, so I know the congestion, but also the speeding that happens in that area, and so we want to be able to help reduce that. And the only way, yes, you can do enforcement, but enforcement goes only a certain amount of time. The only way is you have to redesign your roads in a way that encourages drivers to behave in a certain way or reduce their speeds, and that's what we're trying to do.
Right. Now, how has that worked on other projects similar to this, like, say, the Peanut in Kelly Square, the Mill Street rearrangement that people thought it was the end of the world? How is that? Because those were the concerns there. Traffic safety, obviously, but then speed.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, have those helped those situations? Has there been less accidents?
Yeah, we have. The data has reduced for Kelly Square and also Mill Street. The speeds have reduced significantly on Mill Street. And those are the things that we want to continue to monitor and see the improvements on that, because our city is a city. It's not like it's not a planned city like New York, where everything is like a nice grid. Right.
Yeah.
And even in those grids, there's still issues and accidents.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
People running through red lights and
plus we have 7 hills to deal with.
Yeah. So, but our streets are kind of all over the place. You got a one-way coming in, one-way going out, 10 streets coming into, and so it creates a lot of challenges. We want to, and our city is growing. We're a city of almost 213,000 people. It's growing, a lot bigger population, more mobility, and so we need to find ways that we can improve our infrastructure. And the thing is that sometimes, and more oftentimes, actually, the infrastructure, when you actually invest in that infrastructure, it's very rare that you're going to come back any 20, 30, or 40 years later to redesign it again. So it's a redesign that takes time, and we want to make sure that it does right, and it does lasts, and it does what it needs to do to improve the safety of that neighborhood.
All right, and then one more here, and this is a question that's been going on here in this city since I've lived here, and beyond that. But this person emailed in and said, "I'm writing as a Worcester resident, someone who works downtown. I want to express my concern about the increasing number of homeless individuals living in public spaces throughout the city, particularly behind City Hall and on the Worcester Common and under the Green Street Bridge. They want to state clear, they're a compassionate person and they understand that homelessness is a complex issue. There's never one reason for it. But they go. It's a very, as you can see here, it's a very long question.
Yes.
So I'm trying to break it down here. They say that for people coming into town, visitors or potential businesses, this may not give a great impression to bring that kind of business into town. And not only that, it's a danger. And they say this morning they were driving into work. There was a person standing in the middle of one of the streets blocking traffic. There was an ambulance, holding up, traffic as something had happened on the Common. So basically, they recognize that there's no easy solutions, and they want to help these people. But what is the city doing about this particular problem these days? And I know this is an ongoing problem, but I kind of agree. To me, it seems like there's more. And there's, again, not one reason for that.
Yeah, there has been an increase, and there's a lot of reasons why. There's a lot of reasons as in terms of why we have seen the increase in the city, and I can go on and list all those reasons. But at the end of the day, we are working on it. Just yesterday, 3 of my meetings yesterday was related to this. My week is consistent in having conversation with partners, state officials, local providers, outreach, you name it, of just trying to figure out how do we resolve this issue. One of the things that we're doing as a city to try to address this issue is what we're realizing, notice that there's not a better coordinated approach between all providers across the city. And so we want to coordinate that better. We want better collaboration around that. And we want to be able to the extent that we can, be able to provide or share enough data so that we know the need of that individual. We know who's working with what individual, because oftentimes there's duplicate services or duplicate individuals working with that individual. And we have a lot of folks in our city who want to help, who want to support, who want to do what they can. And it needs to be better coordinated. So we're working through a strategic framework to do that. The other challenge is that there is also limited resources overall, right?
Right, with the increase. There's only so many.
Correct.
There's places out there that are helping.
Correct.
But they only have a certain amount of manpower and resources.
And a lot of times it comes down to capacity of staffing. And so if an agency doesn't have X capacity, then they can't take on more clients, right? Or they can't take on individuals. There are agencies in the city that oftentimes has beds available, but because of the ratio of staffing, they can't put someone on that bed. And that's a detriment to overall the city, right? And so we are even having conversations of pipeline, how to create a pipeline to get individuals in a position to employ them, to get them trained, to get them the certifications they need. How do we work with the colleges and the institutions to get them people from young going to this field, et cetera? How do we working with the state to try to increase the salaries of some of these clinicians and clinical services? So there's a combination of things. It is, like you said, it's a very complex issue.
Yeah, there's no easy answer.
But you got to work at all of it. It's the whole entire system. Now, I do understand and I acknowledge that there are challenges in some of our areas like the Common or Green Street or Main South or Lincoln Street, where we see that oftentimes the behavior is what frustrates individuals, where you see that behavior that it's inappropriate, right? Or behavior that causes you to fear or causes you to, to say, whoa, what's going on here? And we need to do that. And perception of safety is different for everybody. And we as a city, we need to deal with that. Now, the police department is doing everything they can. We're also working with the courts of finding ways that either one, we can divert individuals, or two, get them through the courts into treatment. Because oftentimes, whether it's 10, 15, 57 times, we're going out there doing outreach to the individual, but they may not want that service. Right? Yeah. But it may be the 58th time they'll want that service. But in the meantime, we need to figure out a way to utilize the courts, utilize the systems to be able to get them out of the elements. Because oftentimes, right, I know people say, well, just let them be in or let them stay there or et cetera. But depending on the individual, not all of them, but depending on the individual, if you let them out there, they're going to die. Because it is their mental health state and their addiction is so severe that they themselves need help. And that's where sometimes we utilize the court system to help us to get them into the treatment that they're in. So we're using all different buckets or every tool in the toolbox as much as possible. We are going to do more. We're working on doing more. We're partnering with the Chamber of Commerce and the business community to find ways that we can either strengthen our collaboration overall as a city, but also work with the business community and the state officials
There's a lot of moving parts.
It's a lot of moving parts. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, about 5 to 7% of the funding that many of these agencies receive comes from the city. The rest is state funded, state contracts. So we need to work more with the state and find ways that we can hold these agencies accountable, but also support them and help them in the work that they're doing, because it's a tough thing that we're dealing with as a city. But in the bright side of things, right? Worcester is a safest city, one of the safest cities in New England, one of the safest cities in the country. It is still vibrant. There's still businesses want to come here. Still developers want to build here. You see the activity. I'm meeting with a developer today who was interested in the city. So there's still the interest in the demand to grow the city and to expand businesses. I'm going to a ribbon cutting today for a small business that's opening up in the city. That is still happening. But we don't want to take our eye off the ball and on other areas that we need to address. But the good thing is that the city's still growing. People still have appetite. People still want to move here and live in this city, and that's a good thing. And I feel as though the more we work at it together, I think overall we'll be able to kind of reduce this issue a little bit.
All right. Well, Mr. City Manager, thank you for your time. Worcester City Manager Eric Batista right here. Ask the CM. Thank you for everyone for submitting questions. We try to get to as many as we can, and we appreciate it. And hopefully we can do it again next month.
Absolutely.